Hello and welcome to another video from me, the History Tutor, and in this video we're going to be looking at AQA and Britain Health and the People topic for the Paper 2 exam, and we're looking at question 3, which is the explain two ways, where we compare two different things, and this time we're going to compare Pasteur with Fleming. Okay, so in this video, we're going to revise your knowledge on treatments in the 1800s and 1900s. And then, as I said, do question 3 and compare Pasteur with Fleming and see if we can find some ways they are similar. So this is a tricky skill, and I'm going to talk through how to answer this question successfully, and then we'll go through the answer in detail. So before we do that, you might want to revise your knowledge on Pasteur and Fleming and the 1800s and 1900s treatments. You can look at my YouTube videos to revise that, or have a look at the pages in my revision guide, and then we will have a quick quiz in a moment, and then we will work through the answer. Okay, so have a revise and then come back for a quick quiz. So here are 10 questions about treatments in the Industrial Revolution and in the 1900s, ready to prepare you for the comparison question afterwards. So have a look through these 10 questions, find the page in the revision guide and see if you can fill in the answers and revise your knowledge. So pause for now and give it a go. Okay, so here are the answers then. So who was the small boy used in Edward Jenner's smallpox experiment? So James Phipps was that one. And in which year did Jenner gain British government funding for a vaccination clinic? 1802. So we've got a couple of sort of factors and ideas being suggested about smallpox there. With Jenner, obviously experimented and took a chance on his experiments using cowpox to prevent smallpox. But he published his report and the government then funded him to help him. So government, an important factor of change. Which industry funded Pasteur to investigate their product going bad? So the French alcohol industry, wine and beer, were worried about why their products were going bad, and Pasteur was funded to investigate why. And he realised it was bacteria, and he managed to prove that spontaneous generation was incorrect, and he published his report called Germ Theory in question number 4, 1861. Which disease did Koch first prove was caused by bacteria? And that's anthrax. And Koch was working in the countryside and realized that anthrax was a major killer of animals, and he investigated why. He found dead bodies of animals, extracted what he thought might be in the bacteria and grew it and injected the mice, and found that, lo and behold, yes, this was the bacteria causing disease, and proved that bacteria was indeed the cause of disease. Question number 6, which disease did Pasteur's scientists luckily discover a vaccine for? And that was chicken cholera. So his team had gone on holiday and left out some chicken cholera bacteria, and when they came back they thought, okay, well, let's give this a go and see what happens. They injected the chicken and lo and behold, it was inoculated, it was vaccinated against disease, and they realized that weakened forms of bacteria could prevent future infection. So name 2 types of magic bullets. You've got Pronsil and Salvazon 606. So this was an attempt by scientists in the 1900s to create a chemical that could go into the body and kill bacteria. And these were 2 ones that worked, although they had death and side effects potentially as well. So they weren't perfect, and also they couldn't kill all bacteria. So they were not the magic bullet they were really hoping for. So who discovered penicillin and published an article in the Lancet? This was Fleming, and he realised that he had discovered, luckily, that penicillin could kill lots and lots of types of bacteria. It luckily landed on his Petri dish. He was a bit of a genius because he realised the importance of it. He couldn't make a drug out of it, so he made an article and hoped somebody else could. Question number 9, there's somebody else who could do this, was Florian Chain. They made a drug out of penicillin during the Second World War and started to test it. And their first human trial, after a number of mice experiments and other things, was Albert Alexander, a police officer who had been infected by a prick of a rose bud and had a severe infection and was dying. And they managed to help him a lot, but didn't have enough penicillin to save him. Okay, so here is the question we're going to look at today, and it says, explain 2 ways the work of Louis Pasteur was similar to that of Alexander Fleming. This is a typical idea of a question 3 in your exam. It will ask you to say, explain 2 ways, and ask you about the similarity of 2 people or time periods. So have a think, what do you need to do to be successful with this type of question? How many paragraphs do you need to write? What sort of examples do you need to give? What sort of skills do you need to show? So find this question in your revision guide and list some ideas now about how you'd be successful in answering this question. So here's what I've gone for. So firstly, you need to focus on the topic you've been given. Of course, we need to focus here on Pasteur and Alexander Fleming and their treatments. Give clear arguments about why these people or time periods are similar. So, one way they are similar is, and set up an argument. Give an example from both people or times. All too often when I'm marking exam papers, I find people are giving vague general comments. They both solve treatments. Try and give much more detailed responses than that. Then explain why they are similar. Now, the better response will be the more complicated responses, using factors rather than just basic ideas like they solve disease. Now, that can get you into level 3 and get you 5 or 6 marks. Great, especially if you do it with complicated, detailed evidence, but you want to try and have a think about something slightly more advanced than that to get to the top band. And so the link phase really can be about your furthermore and explaining it in a more complicated way. But you don't necessarily need a link in this answer if your idea is originally already very complicated. And obviously we need to explain 2 ideas to get to 8 marks. So 2 PL paragraphs. Okay, so let's start planning our response now. So have a think for a moment about what Pasteur and Fleming did. See if you can think about their key ideas. Then we can start identifying some similarities. So have a think now about what they did. Okay, so here's some ideas I've come up with. So firstly, Pasteur experimented to prove that bacteria cause decay and not spontaneous generation. Also, Luck helped Pasteur develop the second ever vaccine for chicken cholera. And he also wrote germ theory. These are examples not quite in order. He wrote germ theory in 1861 to show that bacteria may affect humans, and this helped Koch develop his idea that bacteria cause disease. Now, Fleming also was a bit lucky that the penicillin landed on his petri dish and started killing bacteria. And Fleming also led experiments with penicillin and found that they killed many types of bacteria. Then Fleming published an article in the Lancet magazine about penicillin. This work was then developed by Florian Chain to make penicillin into a drug. So have a think about these examples. Can you see some similarities between them? See if you can find arguments that are similar in here. Okay, so here's the similarities I've got. So firstly, obviously both of them experimented, both of them were lucky, and both of them published and communicated things that then led to other people improving them. So that last one's probably your most complicated one. It's got a factor, communication, and then it's got that another person had to then develop their ideas to make it a great success, and that made it more significant. That's going to be a really good answer to give. The other 2 are really good as well because they involve factors of change like experimentation and luck, and often a factor of change is going to be a more complicated response. Okay, so how are we going to write this? So we're going to write it in a PL paragraph, as we did in most of our other answers, but we're going to make sure our example is a lot more complicated. So we're going to say one way the work of Pasteur was similar to Fleming was that they were both lucky. So for example, Pasteur was lucky with this. Similarly, Fleming was lucky with this. Therefore, these are similar because this lucky circumstance led to these sort of ideas, and give some impact knowledge and explain the similarity. And if you don't think you've explained it enough, give a furthermore. However, as I said already, that could be an optional thing depending on whether you think you've explained it in enough detail already. So let's work through an example together then. So we're going to look at a paragraph now, and I'm going to suggest we talk about luck together to start with. So one way the work of Pasteur was similar to the work of Fleming was that there were, okay, can you introduce the idea of luck maybe as a point? So in your revision guide now, see if you can write out the first sentence. Away you go. Okay, so as you can see, I've written one way the work of Pasteur was similar to Fleming was that they were both lucky when they left bacteria out. So for example, Pasteur, can you say something about Pasteur and something then similarly something about Fleming afterwards, to make sure both of them have got a little bit of a factual example, maybe some keywords in there. Pause me now and away you go. So I've written, for example, Pasteur was lucky with the discovery of chicken cholera, and similarly Fleming was lucky discovery of penicillin. So I've kept it quite simple so I can explain the impact in more detail and explain the similarity with more story. So now explain in detail the similarity, give more story to this chicken cholera and penicillin idea. So this means they're similar because, where you go. Okay, so I've gone for this means they're similar because Pasteur was lucky when he left chicken cholera exposed to the air when he went on holiday. This led to a weakening of the bacteria that then made it a successful vaccine, whereas Fleming was lucky as he left dishes of bacteria out exposed to the air in which penicillin landed. He returned and he was able to realise that penicillin had killed the bacteria. Now, we probably could think about the wider impact of these discoveries as well, going into sort of how they impacted things over time, maybe. Okay, so there is potentially a furthermore. Could you think of one? Pause me now and go for it if you can. Okay, so I've said, furthermore, this luck led to the similarity of a great discovery that treated diseases. Pasteur had realised how to make vaccines by weakening viruses and bacteria, and similarly, Fleming had discovered a drug that could kill all bacterial infections. Okay, so given a bit of the significance of the idea. Now, let's go for how the communication helped others develop their ideas. So see if you can write a paragraph about this. Remember, we had that both of them wrote ideas down that other people then improved. This is a slightly more complex response. So have a look at this writing frame and see if you can write it out now. So pause me and give it a go. Okay, so here's my complete answer then. So I've said another way the work of Pasteur was similar to Fleming was they both inspired the work of others via their communication. For example, Pasteur's germ theory, 1861, inspired Lister and also Koch. Similarly, Fleming's article on penicillin inspired Florian Chain to develop penicillin. These are similar because, and then talk about Pasteur, could not prove that bacteria caused disease, but suggested it. Koch then experimented with anthrax and was able to prove that a range of experiments that bacteria did cause disease. Also, penicillin was discovered in a similar way. Fleming knew that it was the properties in it could kill bacteria, but he did not know how to produce a drug from it. This led to Florian Chain growing penicillin, testing it on mice and humans, and then making it into a drug. Furthermore, they are similar because they inspired others to develop surgery as well. So here's some wider thinking about surgery. Germ theory inspired Lister to develop aseptic surgery, and penicillin led surgeons to use it with injured soldiers during World War II to kill infections that they have developed already in the body due to the bad conditions. So we've given a really complicated response for treatments and also surgery. The question does not limit you to treatments necessarily. It does not say the word treatments in it or surgery, so it's fine to go on to surgical thinking. Hello, please allow me to interrupt with a short announcement about revision guides that I offer. These revision guides are packed full of revision notes and videos to help you, quizzes to help you, and up to 15 exam questions explained per revision guide. So if you need help and you need all your revision notes and you want to know how to get a top answer for up to 15 different exam questions, then take a look at these revision guides. Also, if you want to know more or you want my help one-to-one, then take a look at my website to find out more about my revision guides and ways that I can offer help. Now, back to the video. Okay, well, I hope you found that useful and you've developed your explain two ways skills. And also we talked about Fleming and Pasteur and revised some of our knowledge. Now, if you found it useful, do have a look at my revision guide. You'll find it on the Amazon link in the YouTube information for this video. And also do subscribe to my channel for lots and lots more videos to help you with your GCSE studies. Well, I hope to see you again soon. Bye-bye for now.